Welcome back to Mrs. Coombs' reading place. We're going to be starting today from chapter 3. But if you missed out chapter 1 and 2, don't worry. Click on the link below and we'll take you to the first 2 chapters. It's a very good idea to read always from the beginning of a book. So if you haven't read chapters 1 and 2, please go and listen to them now. For the rest of you, let's continue on this adventure with Jojo. Are you like me? Are you wondering what's been happening or what's going to happen? And while I was thinking about Jojo, because he kept coming back to me, I've got to point out to you something. See these hooves? What do they look like to you? Can you think of a pair of shoes or something you might wear that look like these? Shame, he really needs to go to a farrier. Do you know what a farrier is? A farrier is somebody who comes and looks after horses and donkeys' hooves so they don't get all long and pointy like this. Okay, are we ready? Do you remember where it was set? Isn't it in a city? Can you remember the city's name? Starts with a V. Venice, that's right. And can you remember the square where Jojo was selling his melons? Correct, St. Mark's Square. And can you remember what he was underneath at one time? Remember in chapter 2, he was underneath. That's right. Those four beautiful golden horses. And who was it who turned his luck around? Who came running out to meet him? That's right, the Dodger's daughter. And that made him really happy and suddenly well liked. Well, are we all ready? We're starting on chapter 3. There we go. Oh, look at him. He's sitting there on that square. Those flies are still irritating him. And look at his master. Fast asleep with his hat on his head. I wonder what Jojo's thinking. Let's find out. Chapter 3. One afternoon, while his master dozed under his hat and the whole city slumbered through the heat of the day, Jojo sat gazing up at the 4 shining golden horses in St. Mark's Square, as he often did. They were everything the donkey longed to be, but never could be. "Oh, why can't I be like you?" he cried. His master woke from his snoring sleep and swatted at him. "How dare you wake me like that?" he roared. "No use talking to those horses. Can't you see they're nothing but statues? Statues can't hear. Statues can't speak." But Jojo knew they could. The very next morning, just after Jojo and his master arrived in the square, the great Dodge came to the window of his palace. Trumpets sounded, and a crowd gathered to listen. "Be it known to one and all," said the Dodge, "that I intend to purchase the finest horse in the city for my daughter's birthday. A price of 10,000 ducats will be paid. The horse will be chosen at noon this very day, for today is my daughter's birthday. Let the bells ring out." All that morning, Jojo stood and watched the horses arriving in the square. Each one of them was finer than the one before, and every one of them made him feel smaller and uglier than ever. There were the black Arabian stallions, tossing their heads and snorting as they came. There were grey Spanish mares with flowing manes, prancing as they came. Soon all the finest horses in the city were there, and a huge crowd had gathered. Have a look. There's the part of the story. You've got the Dodge. This probably must be his daughter. And all the crowd, and he's telling the crowd, "Oh, it's my daughter's birthday." At noon, let's start again. As the noon bell sounded, the great Dodge came out into the square with his daughter, and the grand parade began. The crowd clapped and cheered as all the horses trotted by. Then all of Venice waited silently to hear his choice. What horse would you choose, I wonder? Maybe the black Arabian stallion? Or this bay-coloured horse? This Andalusian with the spots on his back? Oh, shame, look. Can you see him? How little and weird he's feeling. Oh, poor donkey. Well, let's see what happens. My daughter's 10 years old today, he said, so she's old enough to choose for herself. He turned to his daughter. Now, my child, he said, which one would you like? Who's she going to choose? The Dodger's daughter walked slowly along the line of waiting horses, and then, at last, she turned away and pointed. Over there, she said, pointing toward the 4 golden horses. But you can't have them, laughed the Dodge. You can't have the golden horses. They belong to the people of Venice. They've been there for hundreds of years. Not them, the Dodger's daughter said. I want the one over there, the one that's standing by the melons, father. The crowd gasped. But that's a donkey. You want a donkey? The Dodge cried. Yes, father, said the Dodger's daughter. I forbid it, said the Dodge. I absolutely forbid it. I cannot have a daughter of mine riding around on some flea-bitten donkey. Well, I don't want to ride on him, said the Dodger's daughter. I want him to be my friend. I have no friends to play with, father. You did say I could choose anyone I wanted. And he's not flea-bitten at all. He's beautiful. He's much more beautiful than any of the others. Don't you argue with me, thundered the Dodge. You could have picked the finest horse in the land, and you chose the walking carpet. Look at him, with his feet curled up like Turkish slippers. Uh-oh, wonder what's going to happen. Oh, look at that picture. Oh, how do we know he's angry? Yeah, could be the fact that his hand is pointing so far out. His stance, the way he's standing, he's almost bending over. And look at his facial expressions. Oh my gosh. Oh, let's see if the Dodger's daughter changes her mind. Father, said the Dodger's daughter, her eyes filling with tears, if I cannot have the donkey, I don't want anything. All right, said the Dodge. If that's what you want, then you will go without a present. Go back into the palace and go to your room at once. But the Dodger's daughter ran across the square to where Jojo stood and put her arms around his neck. Come to the palace tonight, she whispered, and wait outside my window. I'll climb down and we'll run away together. Be there, Jojo. Do not fail me. Oh, do you think that's a wise choice? Her running away with Jojo, should she? Is Jojo going to come? Will she run away with them? Will someone catch them? Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, let's find out. Whatever names they called Jojo as his master dragged him away through the crowds, he did not mind. When they threw their melon rinds at him, he did not mind. For the first time in his life, Jojo was proud he was a donkey. Don't get any Don't go getting any grand ideas inside that ugly head of yours, you old ragbag, his master said. You're just a donkey, and a pretty poor one at that, and don't forget it. Once a donkey, always a donkey. And what's more, you'll have no supper tonight after what you've cost me. If you'd have been a horse, I'd be richer by 10,000 ducats. Do you hear me? Jojo heard him, but he was not listening. He was making plans. What plans do you think he's making? Look how he's standing with his head facing there. Not even listening to his master. Don't think he's listening at all. But in his head, he's making interesting plans. And I'm afraid to say that's the end of this section that we are going to read today in Mrs. Coombs' reading place. I look forward to listening to the rest of the story and finding out if Jojo actually does run away and if him and the little girl go off on another adventure. You'll have to wait and see. Take care. Happy reading. Bye.